Good evening and welcome to tonight's broadcast. We are talking about an incredibly important subject of speculation, mainly speculation, a little bit of opinion, but mixed in with some speculation, a whole bunch of this and that and you know what, all over the place. We are talking about the new Scream movie and the future of Scream and a particular theory that is going around that really has me kind of has the gears in my brain kind of turning around. I'd love to hear anybody who's here. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you pop in to say hello and whatnot. Uh, just a warning: major spoilers here. Okay, we're not guys. We're talking about the new film. Obviously, the title in and of itself is a bit spoilery, maybe a little bit. I'm not sure. I'm not sure of that, but just be aware that this is what we are discussing. We are discussing Scream. We're discussing the future of Scream, and we are discussing the new film. So there's that. So the main topic at hand, the main question that I have, and it stems from something that I thought we were going to get in the new Scream, and we never did. It never showed up. After like a week and a half or so of letting the new Scream kind of percolate in my mind, like sitting and thinking about it and reading a lot of stuff about it, it's a mixed bag. It's definitely a mixed bag. A lot of good things. I had fun. Like I said, we did that whole talk with Mark, had a lot of fun. But there's a lot of stuff that doesn't quite work for me. There's a lot of missed opportunity that just really has me kind of scratching my head, especially considering sustainability. And, the filmmakers are claiming, well, or whoever, oh, we don't know if we're going to do a third screw. We don't know if we're going to do a follow-up. We're not sure if Scream 6 is coming, but look, it's a box office success. It's critically, well, it's polarizing, but I would say it's definitely gotten positive critical reviews. That, I mean, everything across the board looks like there is definitely going to be a Scream 6. And I kind of want there to be a Scream 6 because one of the best things that this new Scream film did was gave us a bunch of new characters that I actually felt could hold their own for a Scream, continuing on, at least a couple more movies before kind of calling it kaputs. In the same way that they brought back the Halloween franchise and they're just going to do a trilogy and then that's it. And then they'll reboot it again, probably without Jamie Lee Curtis. They're just doing one more thing. John, you don't, John, John's such a sweetheart, man. John, I responded to your email, buddy. We're all good. There was never, I didn't think you were being confrontational at all. I loved your contribution. And you are more than free and welcome to speak your mind at any time. Doesn't mean I'm always going to agree, but totally cool, man. All gravy. Go check your email, John. Go check your email. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about Scream. In any case, so I'm kind of like, they could potentially, what they were going to do. The original Scream 4 was supposed to be the beginning of a brand new trilogy. And they had this idea to kind of do things, from a different perspective of the killer, yeah. Ballad, good to see you, by the way. We haven't seen you in a little while. Yeah, Sam and Tara and the twins they're a great anchor core cast that could easily carry the torch. I said to Mark, and people will might jibe me for this. I kind of I didn't need, as I said, I didn't need Sidney and Dewey and Gail to be the supportive roles that they were. Give us some cameos. I didn't need them to come in at the end and be like the dynamic duo, with Armed and Dangerous, that kind of thing. I just didn't need it, man. Didn't need it. Let the characters, you brought in this character that's connected to Billy Loomis, like play in this sandbox. And One thing that kept getting brought up throughout the whole film. Hey, what's going on, Walter White? How you doing? Oh, this is going to be a good show. Make sure you've seen Scream before the new Scream before you watch this. I got this little curl on the side. Not that I'm a vain guy, I'm kind of a vain guy, but I hate that little hairy curl thing that sticks out of the side of my head. The God, what was I just saying? We were talking about one thing that it was leading to, obviously, was that there was a third killer. I was so sure of it. They kept saying it. You know, when you keep hearing something over and over and over again, it reinforces where they're going to take it. I'm going, yeah, dude. Yeah, like there's going to be a third killer, and they haven't done it yet. I mean, what a fresh thing. Give us a third killer, you know, and even better, give us a third killer that survives, because as I mentioned before, sustainability. The problem with all these Scream movies, it's probably the biggest problem, is the idea that because Ghostface can be anybody, which is part of what makes Ghostface so terrifying, you know, where you're putting on this costume, which is Father Death. That's the name of the costume. The actual costume is called Father Death. The Scream face, that's what the name of the costume is. You are donning the personification of death as a human being and going out and doing, you know, the business of the Grim Reaper, that kind of thing, right? And part of the problem is that they bring on a new Ghostface every time, then they get rid of him just as quickly. And you need a Ghostface in order to start a new Scream film. You can't have, you know, up until this point, you couldn't have a Scream film without Sidney and Dale and Gail, not Dale, Gail and Dewey. And you needed a Ghostface, right? But that's the thing about Jason and Freddy and Michael, that they stay the same. They always come back, and that always allows for more and more sequels. But in this case, in the case of Scream, it's always somebody different. And it gets harder and harder. It's diminishing returns. How many people are going to target the same person over and over again for various different reasons? I mean, they have brought Sidney back to Woodsboro 5 times now. Well, technically 2 of them didn't take place in Woodsboro, but one of them was a Hollywood film set. 3 times they brought Sidney back to Woodsboro, and twice to Stu's house. It kind of gets to a point where it's like, you need the villain needs to be a reoccurring nemesis that can keep creating antagonistic situations that give us a reason to have a movie in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Ballad says, yes, I wanted Sidney and Gail to be left alone. They've been through enough. They can appear as cameos in minor parts if it aids the story and the potential Scream 6 and 7. Agreed, Ballad. The directors were recently asked if Stu is alive, and they laughed about it in a very suspicious way. Already certain Kirby is returning, which is fine. I know a lot of fans love her. Okay, so let's get this out of the way since Ballad's brought it up. Let's just put it out on Front Street. There is something that really sort of drove me even more crazy, because I told you how I was thinking there's going to be a third killer. There's going to be a third killer. Like, I'm convinced there's going to be a third killer. There was something that I found out after I'd watched the film that made that notion even crazier for me. When the boyfriend played by Jack Quaid, what's his name? Richie. When Richie is watching YouTube videos for Stab 8, we now know all the different cameos. You know, Jamie Kennedy did a cameo, all vocal cameos, voice cameos. Drew Barrymore did a cameo. She was the principal over the loudspeaker at the school. Jamie Kennedy was random party guests at the end party at the old at Stu's parents' place. And Matthew Lillard himself was Ghostface in Stab 8, the sleeveless, chrome-faced Ghostface, which I love, by the way, which I thought was so funny. I mean, again, the filmmakers did a lot of good things in this movie, like a lot of great touches, but the story bones suffer. They suffered quite a bit. It suffered in a lot of different areas. But what's interesting is on the sidebar, you know, when you're looking on YouTube, look on the side of this video, you'll see all the videos that are recommended. One of them is Kirby. It's an interview with Kirby on some talk show. This is in movie. It's not actually on YouTube. it's just a little thing. The girl who survived Woodsboro. So Kirby does survive. And the other one at the bottom is Stu Macher still alive? The truth behind the killer behind Stab, something like that. Like it's some sort of YouTube documentary tackling a conspiracy theory about what really happened to Stu. And when I saw that, I was just like, yeah, right. Ballad said it. Is the real Stu alive? Recommended video in the thumbnail. Thank you. Ballad said it in a single sentence. What took me 5 minutes. That's why these streams are as long as they are. And yeah, I want a completely subversive final act. They stuck with the general formula. Aside from Tara surviving, let's let the killer survive at the end. Maybe 3 killers or a cult of killers. So look. So here's the deal. As we know, the original plot of Scream 3, which would have been far better than what we got in a way, assuming that they left the ending the same. I have no complaints about Scream 3. I can let it go. I let all the bad stuff go. But the original intention was to have Stu be the guy. Stu was in jail, and he's pulling all the strings from behind bars. And he's got like this cult. He's got a cult. And they actually did turn that. We've talked about this as well. That's what the plot, that was Kevin Williamson's plot, that got turned into a series with Kevin Bacon called The Following. So that plot was used, and then they scrapped it, and they made Roman Sidney's long lost half brother, which has no emotional resonance because it's not a character from a previous film. So we almost got that, and then it didn't happen. And then now here we are, and, you know, they keep bringing this up in the film over and over and over again. There's always 2 killers. It's like part of the, you know, it's part of like the meta nods that they're doing with the with the film. And here's the smoking gun for me, in addition to that recommended video thumbnail that Ballad of the Broken brings up as well. At the very end, when Dewey is getting killed, he does something that we've never seen happen before. He rips open Ghostface like tunic or whatever that is, and we see underneath someone with a purple shirt on, a buttoned up purple shirt tucked in. I don't know if you guys were paying attention to that, but I had me wondering, oh my God, like we got a little hint. I believe they were even wearing a tie. I was like, oh my God, we got a little hint of who one of the killers or the killer might be. And so I thought in my mind that this is absolutely going to lead back to Stu somehow. And then at the end, as I said, I thought maybe Tara was the third killer. I guess in the script, Tara and the other girl, what's her name? The girl that with Tara's best friend, Amber and Tara are actually a couple. They're a couple that got cut out. But I thought maybe that Tara was the third killer and that she had discovered who her sister's real father is, and that's who knows. The motive works for me a little bit better than it did, but again, it would have paled in comparison. You're at Stu's house. Who better to show up than have Stu show up and have him survive to fight another day? You know what I mean? Or better yet, have Stu actually be somebody that's been in the movie the whole time, and then it's revealed that it's actually Stu. That Stu has been hiding behind a mask or a facial beard or something, all scarred up. Who knows? Something that sort of, and then, you know, what does that do? If you have a third killer, whether it's Stu or not, suddenly that gives us an excuse, a reason to have a sequel. That gives us a reason to go right into Scream 6. What possible motive is some random stranger going to have the next time to target these specific people that survived the previous guy? It's just too coincidental, and it really does sort of whatchamacallit it. What am I trying to say? It it's hard for me to suspend my disbelief. Ballad says, I was surprised that they didn't address the recent obsession with true crime and all the popular podcast series. Yeah, they totally could. They did that in the new Halloween as well, and it worked. Definitely could have had that in Scream in some way, shape, or form. They did it in Dexter too. I didn't know about that shirt. Ballad says, I didn't know about the shirt, the purple shirt. Also, the ghost face in the hospital was tall. Exactly. And you could chalk it up to being Jack Quaid, Richie, Sam's boyfriend. But again, like, give us a Scream movie where here are the two things that I want from Scream 6. Okay. One, give us Stu. Okay. Give us Stu. There's so many like opportunities to bring him back. Because here's the thing. Stu dies, Billy dies, and it is irreversible. Like, he gets shot in the head, and Scream and Stab are set in a reality where there is no supernatural. There's no supernatural stuff. Although technically not, if you want to consider my friend Bob Rose, who's been on the channel a bunch, we're all obsessed with shared universes, and technically the View Askew universe crosses over with the Woodsboro universe because of Scream 3 and Jay and Silent Bob making there. So when he was ranking all his favorite Scream movies, he was including all of Kevin Smith's films, which I thought was really, really funny. But as I said, the Scream is very much rooted in the real to real world. And because of that, you can't bring back someone like Billy from the dead, like for real, because he died from the bullet wound to his head. However, the way Stu died and the fact that we never see Stu's body after the TV falls on his head, death, it's not death by stereo like Lost Boys, it's death by TV. It makes you, and Matthew Lillard has tweeted this out on Twitter. He's like, Stu definitely would have survived a TV falling on his face. Like, it's so, in movie logic, you could totally see Stu surviving that. So it's very possible. I feel like Stu's death was very resurrectable, if that makes any sense, especially when they've already gone to the extent that they've sort of have brought Billy back as an hallucination, which I both loved and also kind of rolled my eyes, because he's like this guiding fatherly figure. And, it just does, it's so stupid. Or he's like nodding his head, use the knife, become the killer that you are inside. It's just kind of goofy. It's a little goofy. I would have liked to have had that set up a different way. Have her, again, as Mark was saying the last time we spoke, have her, Sam, like talking to somebody and we don't know who it is. Have it like slowly reveal it. It's just put it so on Front Street and it feels so ham-fisted in there. It's a great idea. I just didn't like the execution personally. Did I enjoy seeing Skeet Ulrich? Of course I did. Like I said, I had a great time. Maybe it will grow on me, but like, I just want to see, in a world where you're going to bring back Billy in her mind, and you totally Scream 6, you definitely can have Billy playing around in her head. In fact, that maybe that's how you turn a protagonist into an antagonist. Maybe Sam, at the very end, she realizes her penchant, that she does have a bloodthirst like her father, and maybe that she in turn becomes a Ghostface vigilante, which is another thing that we talked about in that previous episode. What if Sam, uses the Ghostface mask to right a wrong in her mind, and then gets a taste for killing? That would be interesting. Ballad says, haha, hearing him say, I've always had a thing for you, Sid. And how do you think they'd make it logical that Stu isn't mentioned being alive by characters in 2 and 3? ? Well, yeah, that, first of all, yes. It's like they're in the kitchen and then all of a sudden Stu comes out and he says, I always had a thing for you, Sid. I would love that. That would have been great. That would have been stupendous. That would have been stupendous. Woo! And how do I think that they'd make it logical that Stu isn't mentioned being alive? I don't know. I mean, they bring him up. They bring him up all the time. in like offhanded, oh, that was Billy and Stu in that kind of way. I don't think they need to. I think you can just, how you do it? You know how you do it actually? You show things from Stu's perspective. You open Scream 6 in like a jail cell or a mental hospital with Stu, and you get inside of his head. And how about this? I'll do you one more. Let's say that Stu and Billy, or that maybe Billy didn't have a thing for Stu in the same way that Stu had a thing for Billy, and so Billy is lamenting the loss of his brother, who he also might have had an obsessive, unhealthy, borderline romantic love for, something like that. And he's sitting in his cell, or his wherever he lives, his lodgings, just thinking about how he wants to get back. And then the opportunity arises and he gets out, and friggin' Halloween that shit. You know what I'm saying? John of Doom says the use of a knife itself is so sinister and frightening, and is what makes the series great. Too real. I love that. I love that hunter style knife that they have. You just read my email. Thank you. So yeah, dude. No, John, I really do appreciate your sentiment, but dude, all good. Totally all good, bro. All good. I had to do a double take in the theater when I saw the Billy hallucination. It was a bit jarring, but it fit for me. And in the end, she said, "New rule: don't fuck with the daughter of a serial killer." Yeah, no, I mean, look, again, it was a fun gimmick, but I needed more. I needed more weight to it for it to really sort of work for me. I like that concept. Hit up Radio Silence. One thing about them is that they are active in looking at fan theories on Reddit and Twitter. That's awesome. I just want to say, I really want to say one thing. I like those Radio Silence guys a lot. And even though I didn't like how they handled certain things, I don't want that to take away from any of my respect for them and what they do. And I've seen almost all of their work, from Southbound to VHS to Ready or Not. And I've always been entertained by the stuff that they make. I just have personal, passionate feelings about material that, or IP that they have taken on that was not theirs. Because in every case, what they were working with was something that was kind of fresh and original, and now they're working on something that has a really like a serious foundation to it, and frankly, a foundation that doesn't really need to be built upon anymore or disturbed, as we've talked about with just, hey, Scream 1, 2, and 3, good, great. Like, don't need anything else. So yeah, so Scream 6, give us Billy, have Sam, not sure what is going on, have them uncover that Stu. Oh my God. Oh, it's like, it just hit me like a sack of bricks. It could, first of all, Tara set up Tara and Sam to become adversarial and sisters. So you kind of have like this Shakespearean thing going, like, beyond. It's like Hamlet and Star Wars on steroids. Cause it's like, you have the dead father ghost in your head telling you to become the killer who you are. You are dealing with a sister, and there's another killer on the loose. And it turns out the killer is your father's best friend. And he wants you to join him as a ghost face. Dude, like, come back to your birthright. Stu and Billy's daughter teaming up. And then that's what brings us into Scream 7 that brings us into Scream 7 and allows, Tara, who's become the new Sidney, which is what I always wanted in the first place, because I love me some Jenna Ortega, have her become the new Sidney, and she teams up with Sidney and bring back Kincaid, because we found out in that Detective Kincaid from Scream 3 married Sidney. They had kids. Have them all come back. We talked about what the scenes we wish that we had seen in Scream 5 with Detective Kincaid. That episode was actually taken down. I got a YouTube copyright strike on my channel because they said that I had somebody had claimed content. It was literally a 2.5-hour podcast of me talking with someone else, and the people behind Scream, the Scream YouTube copyright stuff, flagged us, and so I disputed it. So I'm waiting another couple of days. We'll find out. But it really is frustrating because it's like you gave a copyright strike to a podcast that doesn't use any video or audio, no intellectual property, and I have to get a strike on my channel for that. Like, it's ridiculous. It's crazy. So it's been disputed. I think it'll be resolved sooner than later. We'll get that back. Ballad also brings up another loose end. Oh, wait. Ballad says the pacing is rapid fire, but I honestly would have liked it about 20 minutes longer. Fleshy, of course it should have been 20 minutes longer. It was short. For a Scream, movies are usually about 2 hours and a couple minutes, something like that. This movie should have been, and usually, you know, it's a horror slasher film, so you don't want it to be too long, but it's a Scream film, and that's a different, I mean, it should have been like 2 hours and 15 minutes. It would have been nice if it was 20 minutes longer. Give us some more character. And Vince, that was Stu's cousin. And, you know, you might say, well, why would Stu kill his own cousin? I mean, Stu's crazy. Like, why does Stu kill anybody, period? I don't see why that would, his cousin would be off limits in that kind of case. Again, the motive of Richie and Amber doesn't really align with maybe what the motives of Stu might be, unless if Stu's interest was in Sam because of her connection to Billy. So who knows? I had to do a double take in the theater when I saw. Oh yeah, we already saw that comment. Also, especially, yeah. So I don't know. It would have been nice. There's probably more events. As I said, what I said to Mark was, there's definitely a bunch on the cutting room floor. That film is cut so tight. What I mean by that is, like, it is just, there's no fat. It's super lean. Even for its almost 2-hour runtime, it's pretty lean. Like I feel like they shot there's way more character moments and things. I'm sure all that stuff will come out. I mean, there was 20 minutes of extra scenes for Scream 4. Right? I can't wait for X. So excited for X. Holy crap. That's the new Ty West film coming from A24. Looks bonkers. And yes, it does feature Jenna Ortega in it. And I'm very happy. She's also in some new film on HBO Max that comes out very soon. So I'm very happy to see it. I agree. It's total BS. You've been copyrighted for one of your Misfits songs too, just because the melody match. Yeah, but you know, usually with that, it's like a revenue split or something. What happens with this particular is that there's no. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, there's literally nothing. Like, there's nothing in here that we took from Scream. It was just us talking about Scream. I can't believe it was torpedoed. Like that was not cool. It is what it is. It's okay. It'll be fine. So yeah, so that's where we're at. Just want to take a quick second to talk about riotstickers.com. That they are our sponsor. You know, they're doing a special promotion. Normally this is $59, but for anybody on the channel, this is a channel exclusive. You cannot find this deal anywhere else. And I challenge you to find a cheaper deal. You can get 50 3-inch by 3-inch stickers for $29.50 with the promo code Frumess. Okay. So that's 50 stickers. That's 9 square inches of real estate. Okay. Right there. See right there, $29.50. Go to the link down in the description and enter the promo code Frumess, and you can get yourself some stickers. I have worked with Riot Stickers in the past. I have friends who've worked with Riot Stickers in the past, and they love it. Let's listen to the theme song written by the guy from Less Than Jake.
Posters and promo cards, there's nothing we can't print for you. From stage backdrops to bass drum heads, we can print on shoes.
We are the bomb. Riot stickers. They are the bomb. Bomb diggity dog. All right. So now let's go to the other thing that I wanted to just take a look at here. But yeah, I think Scream 6 is going to be the true test of this team. They did their fan service. Now it's time to really subvert audiences. I pray it doesn't have the dialogue of H kills. Evil dies tonight. Or if it was Thanksgiving, pumpkin pies tonight. I saw that on Twitter. I thought that was hilarious. Anthony Michael Hall was really funny in that film. He does look like he has a Punisher sticker, one of those, thin blue line Punisher sticker type situations. So here you go. Thus, while he may not have made the cut in Scream's 2022 reboot, Stu is better than ever to equip in Scream 6 because blah, 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 blah. Thus, Scream 6 bringing in an original character back into the fray would give the franchise a chance to show how much its characters have grown while also reviving a much loved. Now, that's kind of weak sauce. There was one thing here that I thought was great. Since Ulrich returns a forever young CGI assistant, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we already talked about that, right? We don't need to say that. Let's not even bother. Scream 5's Billy Loomis. Let's see what. Yeah, here's an article talking about this. No, you know what? We already talked about that as well. All right, let's look at this one. Here's this one article that I really wanted to take a look at, and we'll wrap up. So I think So this is how Stu Macher. What? What the F? So this is called the Could Have Been Scream 5 Ending That Keeps Me Up at Night. This is by Allison Foreman on January 20th, 2022. Stu Macher should have come back as the new Ghostface. That's the hill I'm willing to die on following Scream 2022. The disappointingly Stu-less but still fun requel from the Ready or Not co-directors radio silence. I know you're thinking, but Stu Macher is dead. Sidney Prescott dropped a TV on his head at the end of Scream, and he died. To that I say, if Billy Loomis can return as a guiding ghost dad, he is. He's kind of like a ghost dad. Then there's a lot of fair game in modern day Woodsboro, and the reprisal of the iconic co-conspirator Stu was well within reach, especially because Matthew Lillard is just frothing at the mouth to return. How could Stu have survived his brush with the home entertainment head trauma? Well, in the final face-off between Sidney and the two original Ghostfaces, Billy succumbs to a rash of chest wounds before being shot point blank. The death of his best bud, however, is never confirmed. I do believe that they did film. There are some scenes that never made the final cut of Scream. I believe. I think so. They never made the final cut of Scream, and they show them zipping up Stu's body in a body bag, I think, but we never saw them. We never saw them. I'm so glad to hear that, John. They are a great business. You hear that? Totally using Riot stickers for the next Voice of Doom set. Who wants one? Email John Steinheimer at iCloud.com to get one free. You can see it right there. Awesome. Very awesome. Thank you, John, for supporting great independent business. Billy says, another thing about Stu, the third killer, the directors have also not revealed who did what kills. They've been very brief and low key, but they always are. They always are. Although I guess I never really realized this. In Scream 2, it was all Mickey, and except for Randy, which I thought was interesting that Mrs. Loomis really did. She sort of manipulated Mickey to do her evil bidding. So it could be that Stu did some of the kills like Dewey. It totally could be. It totally could be. So, yes, Stu Matthew Lillard suffers from a gnarly stabbing in addition to the affirmation television blow, complete with electrocution. But as the fiercely funny actor who played him once tweeted, it was just a TV, right? You'd think he'd survive. Horror heavyweight and franchise creator Wes Craven reportedly had plans, we talked about this, to take advantage of that possibility in Scream 3, but a tortured production kept the story from happening. Lillard revealed behind the scenes tidbit via a podcast that the idea was that from jail, Stu was masterminding this attack against Sidney and Woodsboro. I'll take it one further. Although I'll tell you something. I mean, he's a lackey. He's not a masterminding kind of guy. So it's kind of like it does sort of, I mean, we're so hungry for, some sort of connection to the first film that we're going to overlook Stu's sort of goofy sidekick role for the sake of wanting to create a new big bad in hopes of continuing the story, I guess. But 3 weeks before the filming was set to start, the Columbine High School shootings urged Scream 3's makers to switch directions. Instead of returning to Woodsboro High School, the first Scream film, not written by Kevin Williamson, would focus on the in-universe horror franchise Stab and a murder spree in Hollywood, which works for me too. And if you notice that no high school kids are murdered at this time, it's kind of heavy too. When you look at the original Scream and even Scream 2, like that, these are like kids being taken out. And then it's true. After 99, that's when like school shootings really started to come into focus and like started to be rampant. And so it's like, when you look at Scream 4 and you see these are high schoolers buying it. And it's like, it's kind of dark. It is kind of brutal, even if the tone is lighter and fluffier. But nobody in Scream 3 is a high schooler. There's not a single high schooler. Everybody's adults, So, and the other thing too that is not mentioned here, Matthew Lillard was cast as Stu in Scream 3 and was paid for the movie. That's right. Matthew Lillard was paid to be in Scream 3, and he got it's called a pay or play deal. And so they decided they weren't going to play, and so they still had to pay him. So he got paid for Scream 3. Matthew Lillard did. That's how close it was. We almost had it. They changed everything. Lillard recalled for the podcast, took the script, threw it to the side, and brought me out, and I never did the third one. Knowing this early stages Stu sequel got shelved, I was primed to see it finally play out in Scream 5. And for roughly 90% of the movie, I thought I was right. Because even if you're not watching to confirm your own Stu-centric suspicions, listen, I can't say that I was 90% right that I thought Stu was going to come in at the end, but I absolutely thought there was a third killer. I absolutely thought it possibly could be Stu. And if it wasn't Stu, because I was constantly playing Russian roulette in my head of like, who could it be? Revolving wheel. And I was like, it's got to be Tara. Tara's going to be, there's going to be some sort of like floor fallout subversion, that just reversal that makes us like drop our mouths open. And it never came. And it just really made me not trust when people say, holy crap, they're going to do something fresh and new. And then they don't do something fresh and new. They do literally use the same motive as the last Scream, because that's what Jill and Mickey before her, what did they want? They all wanted fame. In this case, they wanted to give new life to the franchise that they love so much, but it was the same. It's all on the same tree. Those are all nuts on the same tree, in my opinion. So, because even if you're not watching to confirm your own Stu-centric suspicions, the character's involvement makes sense. For starters, the dude perfectly captures the toxic fandom Scream 5's screenwriters send up in the final act. As it stands, newcomers Amber Friedman and Ricky Kirsch, who both die. Like, it's like you took it, you set up two new killers and you kill them just as quickly. I mean, come on. You're not going to make a Scream 6 with all the money that's being made. I mean, it's just ridiculous. What are you doing? But like I said, there's a way out. We do have a way out here. We do have a way out. Maybe he's aged. Maybe he's become more capable of conspiring such. Very good point. Very good point. It's Dark Man, kids, even seeing Jenna Ortega's acting when she gets her leg broken was just raw. Yeah. I mean, again, I know how much I wax poetic about Jenna Ortega, but again, I'm a 36-year-old man. She is a 19-year-old girl. To see a 19-year-old girl who is like oceans younger than me getting hurt in that kind of way makes me go like, whoa, these are kids, man. These are like young people, like really, really young people, like in that kind of way. It is dark. It is kind of heavy. But again, they could they could do something with Sam and Stu, and Tara. You have plenty of threads to weave with Scream 6 in that kind of way. But let's go back to what Allison's writing here. By framing Billy Loomis's daughter, Samantha Carpenter, as the new killer and luring the original victims back to Woodsboro, the pair argue that they're helping bringing the upcoming Stab 9 back to its roots, which, listen, on paper, that actually makes so much sense. And I see why the Radio Silence guys wrote it like that, but I don't know. The execution it didn't work for me personally. It didn't quite work for me. Again, I don't take super umbrage with it. I don't, but I don't know. I just feel like there are other ways to go. But again, maybe that's the way it's always going to be. I have expectations as a fan, and if those expectations aren't met, I'm always going to be pining for the things that I wish would happen instead of accepting the artists creating their art. And that's something that we have to recognize too, in that kind of way. They just love these movies and they want to offer their writers fresh yet loyal source material. Those are the killers. It's a clever enough conceit that decently capitalizes on the forces that drove Stu and Billy to kill in the first film. Scream 3 retconning notwithstanding. I don't think Scream 3, here's again, this is why Scream 3 is so brilliant. Scream 3 does not retcon anything. Scream 3, if anything, just elaborates and builds upon everything that happens in the first film is still valid in Scream 3. It just takes things a step further out and says, I'm the guy who lit a match. That's all. I'll defend Scream 3 off from that. Recall that in the original's big reveal scene, Stu frames his and Billy's ascension into slasher villainy as an exercise in pop culture education. Watch a few movies, take a few notes. It was fun. Like Amber and Richie, Stu is a horror movie nerd. Well, I don't know. I always got the feeling that Billy was more into the horror movies and Stu was kind of like a popular kind of jock guy who maybe he played football or something. And he just did it because Billy was doing it and because he had a thing for Billy. Like Amber and Richie, Stu is a horror movie nerd. I don't see him as a horror movie nerd. Sorry. That this famed serial killer would still be heavily invested in the Stab franchise. Okay. This is good. I like where you're going, Allison. That this is okay. So basically that he would be obsessed with his own franchise, right? And that he would want to steer it in a direction that makes sense. Okay, that does work for me. A zeitgeisty memorialization of his heinous crimes checks out. Totally fucking agree. Totally agree. Ballad says, your videos inspired me to rewatch and really converted me to the Scream train, and I really appreciate that. Hey, that makes me really happy, and I'm glad that you do appreciate these films the way I appreciate them. I love these films, truly. What's more, bringing Stu back to mentor a couple of crazy superfans is the sort of full circle moment that Scream 5 needed to really, okay, you know what, Allison, you have convinced me in your writing. I am on board. I am on board with that. Forget what I said. I don't think Stu is a horror nerd, but I do agree. He does become a fanatic and he would totally do that, right? And that would make Scream 5 stick the landing, especially because it's taking place at Stu's house. It's taking place at Stu's house, you know? That would stick the landing, depending on your taste for ghosts in the Scream universe, because Billy is not the first ghost. I know he's a hallucination. He's not the first ghost per se. VJ Horton is sold as well. Did you know that Jay is making his own horror film called Craving? He's doing a crowdsourcing campaign for it. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But yeah, man, that would have just been, that was just a little bit of spice we needed on top of the spiced cake, right? Depending on your taste for ghosts in the Scream universe, Phantom Billy. Well, what I was going to say is Billy is not the first ghost. He's not the first ghost. Maureen Prescott was a ghost. Scream 3 is a ghost story, man. It's a ghost story. It's Maureen's unfinished business come back to haunt her daughter. But in any case, depending on your taste for ghosts in the Scream universe, Phantom Billy sort of gets us there with the whole never fuck with a serial killer's daughter moment from Sam. But it's muddled by the fact that Billy isn't a good guy. I agree. And that's what had me rolling my eyes hard, is that Billy should be like the most irredeemable, irrehensible, evil, like incel, scum fuck, whatever. I guess he's not as much of an incel as we thought he was. And just the fact that he is sort of like mentoring, or like a guy, he's like a spiritual guide for his serial killer daughter, or for his daughter who has serial killer tendencies. It just bums me out. His protecting a daughter that he may have not even known existed borders on illogical. Allison, I could not agree more. Stu, on the other hand, has only a tenuous connection to Scream 5 through his nephew, Vince Schneider. I mean, it's so jammed in there. It's so bad, like, to have that like element. Like, we didn't need that at all. It kind of bummed me out to learn that was Stu's nephew. And it just, if anything, it sort of teetered us back on the other direction of, oh, well, it's definitely not Stu, because why would Stu's nephew die? I don't know. So he could have easily been repositioned as the movie's biggest bad. Seriously, just imagine it. Stu emerging from behind a third Ghostface mask, revealing not only that he had survived his fight with Sidney in 1996 in the house, but that the same reign of terror he had begun in the very first film was still continuing. The movie's body count would skyrocket. We'd all be dead. By reducing Stu to a footnote, Scream 5 fails to honor the deadly duo that kicked off this smartly scary story we all love so much. Still, I'm holding out hope that the powers that will greenlight Scream 6 and give Stu his shot at revenge. Gail Weathers may not be writing the Scream 5 based book set to ignite another generation of Woodsboro suspects, but someone should. Plus, if you go by Randy's rules, we're owed a second Stu sighting. The killer always comes back for one last scare, and Stu never got his beautiful Allison. Very well written. I love that. I'm on board. I am on board. So that's it for this evening. I hope you enjoyed our little. We dipped our toe. A little bit more speculation here. I'll probably chop up that other episode when I get it back and put out some Scream clips. Tomorrow night, we have a brand new streaming Evil Live show. It's going to be a big one, a good one. We're diving into the Teenagers from Mars book by Frank White and Ken Kayaffa, Jerry and Doyle's brother, Rocky / Schlock. I've actually had a lot of those, whatever. In any case, I'm really looking forward to it. This book is out of print. I have no problem doing a deep dive on the book now, because the people who pressed up the book, they can't make any money off of it anyway. So why not take a look at it and its contents and just enjoy them for what they are? So keep your eyes peeled. We have Thursday, we're doing Dear God No with Christopher Jimenez, Sinful Celluloid. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And even more, we're doing, by the way, if you are a Patreon member, We're doing Return of the Living Dead, the novelization. We've read up to chapters 3 and 4. We just did chapters 3 and 4, and 4 and 5. So up to chapter 5. So next week will be chapter 6. But if you are a Patreon, you can listen. It's kind of like an audiobook with, they're 30 minutes long. And, I kind of break the reading every once in a while to sort of laugh at John Russo's writing because it's funny, but I also love it. I love John Russo. So make sure you check that out. And if you're not familiar with the Patreon, let me tell you a little bit about what it is. In the meantime, peace and hair grease.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jeff. So I've decided to make a Patreon. What is Patreon? I don't know how to define a Patreon. Let me look it up. Patreon is a membership platform that makes it very easy for creators to get paid for the things that they're already creating. I want to do it full time. I want this to be my full-time job. In my efforts to make that happen, I've set up this platform. Is it going to work? Is it going to be successful? I don't know, but I would rather try and crash and burn than not try at all. The goal is to create enough passive revenue so that I can continue to do this full-time, uninterrupted. Why? Because I love to do this. I love creating content. I love making videos. I love shooting films. I love doing podcasts. In case you couldn't tell, I love to talk and I never shut the fuck up. So right now I've kept the Patreon incredibly simple. There's 2 tiers, and that may change in the future. The Murdergram is a simple way to extend support for all of the hours and hours of free content on the channel for nothing more than $1. 38 cents goes to Patreon. What's $1.38, eh? It's less than a cup of coffee, but it's a great way that you can show support for very little effort. When you divide that $1.38 by the hours and hours and hours of time spent listening to this endless drivel of content, the dollar cost average works out. Next up is the YouTube Casualty for $6.66. The YouTube Casualty is loaded to the gills. Enjoy the archive ad-free, as well as ad-free early access to special docu-style podcast videos, music reaction commentaries, and the like, a month before they drop on YouTube, loaded with ads, I might add. You're also going to get exclusive content and behind-the-scenes content that is not available on YouTube or anywhere else. So you get to peek behind the veil. And believe me, there's a couple of choice pieces. Most of all, more than anything, whether you join the Patreon or not, I just want to thank each and every one of you that comes to the channel, that watches all the shows, that leaves comments, that participates, that subscribes. That's really the most important thing. This is just trying to find a way to earn a living as an artist. And with that, thank you for my TED Talk. Join the Patreon, because we need you!
66 cents.